let's try to understand the Trump tariffs in simple terms and why I think the Trump tariffs are not going to be effective for the American citizens and why are they likely to conduct what I would call a recession. In simple terms, if you look at the policies getting implemented within the Trump policies and how they are coming to be getting implemented, and the end deal or the end goal kind of differs to the U.S. Economy and how it would impact on American citizens in simple terms. We should try to understand that the Trump tariffs are getting, like, I would say, out of hand, like, because he's a man who understands the domestic policies and understanding his own home policies and how he would be implementing how his own culture would be doing in simple terms. But we should try our best to understand that Trump policies and how they are getting implemented, it kind of depends on how you see things. Before we go any further, I would like you to understand, what do you think? What's a tariff in simple terms? How do you understand a tariff? What's a tariff? Well, in simple terms, a tariff is a duty tax or implemented by a government or an institute in simple terms. Especially, let's say, a government like to protect its own domestic economy or domestic industries, well as to regulate the markets and help its own economy to grow, well as to, in other simple terms, like to generate income or to have a side, I'm gonna put it like a side hustle in simple terms. But as far as the American economy is concerned, we should try to understand that the U.S. economy is not in the best state. How, or like, any man would come up and say, like, okay, the U.S. economy is in a great shape, and how it's implementing its tariffs, you would thinking like it's after getting Americans getting jobs and making sure there's foreign income coming into the economy, well as injecting money and helping Americans to get the jobs they had lost. Well, that looks to be the opposite in simple terms. Like, seriously, the opposite. See, when Trump was coming into power, he was promised to bring back. He had what I would call a call, or he had what we would say. He came up with a policy, but his policies have been changing over and over. Until today, he's still changing policies. He wanted American companies to be coming back home, to be producing everything from home. And he wanted to see companies like Apple coming back home. But we all know Apple start producing phones from home. The prices of Apple products will be getting high. But let's try to understand that there are three types of tariffs, okay? We have what they call the ad valorem tariff. We have what they call the specific tariff, and we have what they call the compound tariff. The ad valorem tariff is a percentage of the value of an item. Let's say, like, how Trump implements a 10% tariff on cars coming, let's say, from the Europe or the UK. Let's say, if you do, that's a kind of a ad valorem tariff. A special tariff is a fee. Let's say 2 kg of cheese can be around, let's say, per $2 of 2 kilograms of cheese costs $2 of tariffs. That's that specific tariff. Then there's what they call a compound tariff. A compound tariff is a combination of ad valorem tariff and the specific tariff. That means the government uses both tariffs to be implemented to you as a person. But we must try to understand that as we continue to discuss this down the line, we are trying to understand the impact of the Trump tariffs in this video. Like, why am I saying they won't work? And why they won't be effective? In actual sense, they might trigger what they call a recession in simple terms. We must try to understand that. Why am I saying that they will trigger a recession? I'm gonna say, let's first look at the Japan Trump deal. The deal had an investment of 550 billion into the US. Okay, and that's really feels like a great place to think about it. And some of these, like, yeah, that's money gonna be injected into the US economy. What are you trying to talk about? But in simple terms, you haven't looked at Japan itself. Japan itself has seen a recession almost for. Japan is economy itself has been messed up in the first place. It has been in a situation where you could be saying that it's not in the place where it can conduct itself. If you look at the private economy, because this money is going to be coming out from the private economy. If the private economy isn't working well, trust me, there's no money that's going to be coming to the US. Okay? And here's the funny thing. The tariffs that are getting implemented to the US wood that the citizens that the US citizens are going to be consuming begin after the bill is signed. That's straightforward. You're going to be facing high prices. But the job you're hoping for to all the investment that will be coming to the US for you to get a job opportunity to work in the US, those are going to take a while. They might take, uh, they might not even happen in the Trump regime. That to be taking place or to be happening. Meaning you're gonna be facing high tariffs as you wait for a job that's gonna be happening in the next 10 years or 6 years. Because in the agreement, there are no actual written work show that this amount of money is gonna be implemented in this month or at this period, and we are gonna be starting the investment this year or at this step. There's no written agreement. Most of these deals are actually verbal. Same thing applies to the EU deal. When you look at the EU deal, they also say they're going to be investing around 600 billion US dollar into the US economy. And all these are going to be opening up. They're going to be having zero tariffs to the US goods getting injected into their economy, okay? But here's the funny thing. The funny thing is like, are you sure this money is going to be implemented in the US economy? How sure are you that you're going to be receiving the job that you're hoping for, in simple terms? I see no job opportunity coming to the US. Just imagine that the US report that just came out around 27th. Wait a second. 2 days back or 3 days back into the US economy. The job report that came out with 73 jobs. The US has to almost generate at least 100 jobs per month just to cope up with the growing population in simple terms. But the way how things are looking and how it's looking, the Trump tariffs are not even about the American people. No, the Trump tariffs are about, I would say, supremacy, about two things, okay? Saving the US dollar, okay? Trying to make sure everyone is conducting the use of the US dollar, finding his best way to pay the Brits. But to you as a US citizen, trust me, hopeless in the US tariffs because they are gonna be messing you around in the best way as much as possible. Because these tariffs are not about you as a US citizen. Your percentage of gaining from these tariffs is becoming a probability of one and a half, either happening or not. Because when we talk of the Japanese economy that's hoping to generate $550 billion dollars to the US economy, look at Japan itself is struggling. Look at Japan. A few months, its economy has been breaking almost 3 times in a row. Their GDP, everything's just messy. Japan's economy is lacking what they call labor force. They're pressing the age era. Like they're lacking the manpower to keep the economy moving, and that's the country you're hoping for to generate that kind of money. Without a written document, without an assurance, without any kind of conductance that show that this is gonna be happening, that's where things leave me in a bazaar moment. I feel like that's when you feel like, okay, things are really out of hand, and you feel like it's getting out of hand in simple terms. Same thing to the EU deal. Wherever Trump has been calling it a big deal, I don't think it's a big deal to the American citizen. Adding salt on this will be, if you look at the big and beautiful bill, this is a bill that's going to be adding over $3 to $4 trillion on the US debt, okay? As fast as it's going to be taken. Trust me, the way how the US economy is looking like, trust me, it's going to be heading for a real recession. Mark my words. In simple terms, we must try to understand that the way the Trump policies are forcing investors just to get into the US economy without thinking of the US debt, how to enroll it, how to shatter it, because it's a train that's unstoppable. Okay, he's doing his best like to keep everyone on the train. Like he shouldn't jump off the train. Otherwise, I will tell you, you're getting. We should stay on the same boat. If it's sinking, we sink together. However much there's someone who should be responsible for something like that, if you ask me. But for the Trump policies and how they are getting implemented, I don't see how a US citizen is earning out of this, if you ask me. Honestly, there's no way you're showing me that a US citizen is earning, because all the deals are being done. Japan is gonna be buying 100 Boeings. He's gonna be buying securities from the US. Yes, that will be injecting money, but there's no written documents. This is all verbal. These are all verbal deals. There's nothing authenticated in simple terms. We all look toward the future, maybe when everything gets authenticated, but as for now, now, there's literally nothing for simple terms. There's nothing that you can lie to me as a person. You come up and say like, okay, this is gonna work out. This is gonna turn heads down. Literally nothing. Yeah. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.